Start playing. Do the thing.
West Tigers Faithful, episode 47. I am with you on this Tuesday afternoon. It is 5 o'clock, 5:01 actually. It's the 26th of August. And I sit here and I sit here reading the obituary of the West Tigers season for 2025, albeit a few months earlier than the last few seasons. But
Later.
We'll talk about that later. Joe McCord, how are you?
How is Joe McCord? I'm good. This whole season has been a season of growth for the West Tigers and for Joe. I've learned how to disassociate my personal enjoyment and my sense of satisfaction of self from the results of the West Tigers to great effect. So, look, I'm here to help you all. I'm here to help all of you West Tigers that are, reaching for answers to questions that you just can't quite find the answers for.
It's a good point you make mention of that. If we have any new listeners these last few weeks, we've actually been winning games and had a bye in there somewhere as well. So you're probably not used to the fact that when we lose, these are very much crew therapy sessions. We encourage you always to hit us up in the question boxes within the live stream chat. Ask us anything. It doesn't matter what it is. We'll try as best as we can to answer it, personal or otherwise. There's been wonderful questions in the past in regards to things.
The best questions.
Yes, that's right. But also, if you want to engage with us through the week, we are trying as best as we can to churn out some content. I can't promise you how good it's going to be at the moment with how our morale is, given that it's taken a hit over the last few days. But nonetheless, TikTok, X, YouTube, obviously, we're right here. Facebook, the like, Instagram, of course. What am I thinking? Please,
Instagram.
Do your thing. Come and find us. Come and involve yourselves. And we would love for you guys to continue, building this community that we are beginning to really cultivate. And before I really kick off the show proper, that's something that I want to talk about really, really quickly. I was in the area. Oh, well, obviously I went to the game.
I can tell that you're in the area. There was a bloody hoon just driving past. You're definitely FTA all day.
I'm working from home, mate. So that's not a surprise. But I think before I got sidetracked, I did go to the game, but we were the OG beforehand, which is obviously West Tigers or Balmain Tigers Mecca. Before the match, just the outpouring of support and the people that I met along the way. First of all, thank you, but also I'm sorry. I'm an absolute nervous wreck before games. I'm terrible company, but some of the well wishes and some of the conversations we had, is really underpins the fact that we are really trying to build a community here, and we are so grateful to each and every one of you. And ultimately, we're just two talking heads. We've been called smash crabs by, fans of rival clubs in the past, and soy boys and soft cunts and those sorts of things. So for you guys to remind us, of the reason why we do this, I really appreciate it. And, can't wait to meet more of you as we move in towards next year and the like.
Couldn't have said it better myself. I missed out. I was going to fly down to the game. Thankfully, I didn't, but I was going to fly down. Unbeknownst to me, my wife bought tickets to the K-pop Demon Hunter sing-along at the cinema. So I had to go to that. There were promises made to my daughter that I wasn't privy to. So I had a daddy-daughter date with my daughter and one of her friends' fathers, and we watched K-pop Demon Hunters instead. And you know what? I dodged a bullet. So I didn't get to experience the celebrityhood that you experienced, although I did have an earlier brush with fame at the Dolphins game earlier in the year. I sat next to somebody who was a podcast listener. A couple of people were podcast listeners that day. I can't imagine what it must have been like at Leichhardt. You must have been copping like Owens left and right.
Not really. Just a couple of Reedy, how you doing, and stuff like that. There was a group of lads that I bumped into a trio of them as I was walking into the OJ, and they said, "Oh, that's Reedy from West Tigers Faithful." And I said, "Oh, hey boys, how are we?" They go, "You're famous. You're famous." I went, "No." Taking a piss, but no. Look, it was a good day, but. What's amazing with Leichhardt is how quickly it fills up. That last 10 minutes, it's like there's a bum's rush to the gates, and then everybody sort of sits about the place. I'm going to shut that window because that hoon is really turning it on. This is what happens when you work from home in the southwest of Sydney.
It's funny too because every time it drives past, it makes your camera go blurry.
Oh, really? Well, there you go. Like I can't work out where he is. I actually live in a cul-de-sac, but I am close to the bypass. But nonetheless, really thankful for all of that. So I reckon, Mac, next year we should G up when you come down to Sydney, and hopefully we can get like a Saturday 3:00 or a Saturday 5:30. I reckon we do a social event beforehand somewhere. G it up, book a table somewhere, see if we can get some few people in and see what happens.
Yeah, let's do it. Apparently there's a bit of a group catch up at the Titans game. There's a fair few people who listen to the podcast going to that. So if there's any podcast faithful that are going to be going to the Gold Coast Titans game next weekend, let us know, and I might come and sign some autographs or something.
There you have it. Let's kick into the news cycle. There's really only one main story, as Blaine is alluding to in the comments, and that is that after approximately 25 years, the West Tigers have finally made a decision around their home grounds, which is backed by a $100 million commitment from local council, and then from Campbelltown Council, but then by extension, obviously, the state and federal governments with Leichhardt Oval. To give you guys the rundown really quickly, because, Chris Minns probably threw a cat amongst the pigeons the other day. Campbelltown Council are utilising funding that they were given from the state government when the Libs were in power to build a centre of excellence for the entire area. They've decided that in consolidating the centre of excellence and making it a little bit smaller, they can actually give the Eastern Grandstand a facelift. They can replace the dressing sheds, and most importantly, which Shane Richardson so desperately desires, they can increase more corporates, which means more dollars. State of play is this. It looks like it's going to kick in about 2029. So 2027 will be the Leichhardt upgrades. They're anticipated to take about 12 months. The same with Campbelltown. That'll be in 2028. So I would anticipate that in those years, we'll probably go to Vegas one of the years. We'll take a lot of games to Combank as well. I wouldn't be surprised if we take a game to the country, but I reckon we'll get sort of 8 games at Campbelltown and then 8 games at Leichhardt in those years of the upgrades, and then we've got our spiritual homes. Look, that is something that Justin Pascoe and Lee Hadjipantelis has sort of endeavoured to bring in 2024, but I think everybody can see now that they were probably lying about the balance sheet. Richardson's been very, very clear about what he needed in terms of what was required to take this club to the next level, and I think that this is a massive, massive piece in the puzzle. Beyond the independent board and strong chair, strong CEO, the football department, continue to improve, and obviously the on-field improvement, irrespective of the result on Sunday. This is a big, big deal and something that West Tigers fans have been worried about for so long.
In Journo Watch, I can see in the run sheet that there's a journo who said something related to this that you haven't put in Journo Watch, but that's okay because I'm going to spray him for it. What's Warren Smith's problem? Warren Smith has a crack at this deal. Imagine, what did he say? Something like in 2052, when the West Tigers are playing in front of 16,000 people, how are they going to compete with this deal? Mate, we don't win games. I think people need to recognize that there is a commercial reality attached to success when you're a sports franchise, right? Successful sports franchises get more fans, they get more new fans, they inspire more kids, they get more eyeballs, they get more marketing dollars, they get bigger sponsors, they get better sponsors, they make more money. So if we can't win games, who cares if we're making money? It doesn't make any sense. And playing out of 2 home grounds will help us win games. Playing out of Combank Stadium doesn't help us for shit. It doesn't matter who we play there. And we always take Sydney teams to CommBank Stadium anyway for commercial reasons. So it's not like we're using it as a genuine home ground. Like, so the only way that we're going to actually have a home ground based advantage against Sydney teams is with Leichhardt or with Campbelltown. So it makes no sense. His take is ridiculous. This is a fantastic stepping stone. Obviously we won't be revisiting it now for another 15 years. But hopefully in 15 years' time, they can find $250,000 or something. $250 million somewhere and actually build us a proper upgrade to Campbelltown or Leichhardt. We can just get down to one, because truly we still, like, it's nice, this JV thing. Mate, in 15 years' time, it will literally have been 40 years since the foundation of the West Tigers. At what point are we going to be the West Tigers? Like, trying to hold ground as a joint venture in two regions that are actually separated by other club's catchments makes no coherent sense. It pisses me off. I would literally try. If I was in charge of the West Tigers, I would honestly go back to and this is from the outsider, right? So this is going to piss off some people, but from a person who's been a West Tigers fan and a Balmain fan since 1988, right? From the outside looking in, it would be better for the long-term health of the club if we had a cohesive, connected region that was ours, whether that's the MacArthur, whether that's the Inner West, whatever. I know this is going to piss off some. I don't care which direction it goes. I don't care if it's East Brisbane. We need a region specifically and a venue in that region. I understand traditional values and all of this sort of shit, but Balmain doesn't exist as a franchise anymore. And I'm Balmain side of the JV.
You've got me looking at Google Maps trying to work out, because they talked about Inner West and Southwest, the corridor, but obviously, like, Liverpool and Cabramatta have always been like, it's like that geographical point in the US where there's like 5 points and like every single state can lay claim to it. It's like that with Parramatta, the Dogs, and Penrith. But I think that while one home ground is ideal, we are a joint venture, and I think our history is really, really important. What I would like to see us do, and look, the Bulldogs aren't a joint merger, but I like what they do with the back to Belmore games. I would like to see us, stand on our own 2 feet from a revenue perspective, and then therefore say goodbye to Magic Round, and then have, hypothetically, 2 to 4 games at Leichhardt, and then the rest at Campbelltown, where, you've got 20,000 seated, you've probably got another 10 to 15,000 standing, and as the team continues to win and strengthens its bond with the Southwest, really turn that into this fortress that it's meant to be. Now, I know there's going to be people that are going to be disappointed with that, but I think that's probably the best case scenario. And then obviously having the centre of excellence still based, at Concord and being a presence in that region with a handful of games at Leichhardt, I think that makes a lot of sense from my perspective. But regardless, I think we're sort of, talking about something that's going to happen within 15 years, and we'll be on West Tigers Faithful episode 700.
Bro, by the time that this deal's over, the majority of the people who were who are fans of the West Tigers that started as fans of the Magpies or the Balmain Tigers will literally be dead.
True.
They will literally, the majority of them will be. I'll be 53, bro. Mate. I'm only counting till 62 for granted. So I'll be pretty, you know what I mean? It's at a certain point, you got to take away the argument of especially what doesn't make sense is they're always trying to make the commercial argument. They're trying to make these logical arguments. We need to go to CommBank and Allianz because it's for the commercial best interest of the club. But then when it comes to the ground strategy, they always talk about, no, the traditional values are what's best. We need to be able to observe the traditions. If it was in their commercial best interest to not observe the traditions, they wouldn't observe the traditions. The only reason that they continue to actually pretend like they, as a group, observe the traditions is because there's still commercial vested interests, and there's still people inside of the group who would go bananas if they did anything about it. It's just human relationships. In 15 years, that's not going to be there. All those Balmain people in that boardroom are going to be fucking like, hopefully on the other side of the pearly gates. But
Well,
like at a certain point, this has to be the future. The JV, while ever there's a home ground divide, while ever the New South Wales Cup team wears the Magpies jersey, while ever there's a division between the clubs in the Junior Rugby League Football Club, and there's not a West Tigers Junior Rugby League Football Club, while ever that's the case, there is always going to be parochialism between the two sides of the joint venture. They recreate it at the fundamental grassroots level by having separation in the Junior Rugby League Football Club. There's rivalry between Balmain and West Magpies because of it. Like, that didn't need to be a thing. That could have been like set aside ages ago, and it would have eroded the continuing feeding of the beast that is the destabilization of this merger.
okay, so let's go right back. I just want to get an idea of where your head's at. You believe, you said at the top that this was a step in the right direction and a great, sort of moment. So there's that, but also you're hoping that in 15 years,
Take another step.
that we will be able to pull it back to potentially one home ground. Is that where your head's at?
Yeah, and I like your idea of your idea. I like the idea of it being Cambo. I think it has to be because that region is a growth region for the game. It's a growth region in general for Sydney. It's clear. It makes sense, right? The inner west is like, by the time in 15 years, the inner west is going to be skyscrapers and fucking, people from other countries are going to make up 99% of the residents of the area. There won't be football families in that region. Like, there's not going to be grassroots. The parks will be replaced by skyscrapers. It'll just be sprawl, bro. It's not going to be a fundamental base that makes any sense anyway. Leichhardt Oval will still be there, sure. And so, yeah, play the games at Leichhardt because it's beautiful ground. The back to Belmore stuff for the Leichhardt, great. That's what I hope in 15 years' time happens, yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, we understand then, and obviously, again, this is a wonderful, wonderful
step in that direction.
Yeah, I agree. And for us to move away from Accor, for us to move away from Combank and have less reliance on those because, we're going to really wisely use our funding, and I hope that they employ an architect and construction company that can deliver on budget and on time.
They won't.
You are absolutely right. I already heard that the Leichhardt costings had already blown out, but anyway, they're sitting there and already talking about it, so be it. We didn't really hear them. They didn't have the PA sorted out where I was standing. Last one here is basically that Charlie Staines has been confirmed to go to Catalan. We said it earlier. We wish, obviously, Charlie the best, and tried his guts out, every single week, and to the point where he actually tore his bowel. But he can hold his head high. He's
wow.
His efforts, have typified what Benji Marshall and this new era of West Tigers is all about. All effort, all the time, even if you aren't the guy.
Vale, Forbes, Fiat.
Farewell. All right. You spoke about Journo Watch with Warren Smith. That was a great point. I didn't throw him on the run sheet because he's a commentator and he's a Tigers fan, and it's actually a really good point that you raised. That ultimately, tribalism is more important. And I would much rather 16,000 in a pack like Leichhardt Oval than 16,000 in a fucking soulless Accor. So, at the end of the day, corporates are important, but 2 points is even more important, and crowds can really play a crucial role in delivering that 2 points. And, it didn't happen last week, but our record at Leichhardt in recent years has been phenomenal.
I'll also add, Jared, please, if I may, the idea that corporate revenue streams for football clubs has to be driven by sponsorship and has to be driven by game day packages and
Right.
corporate events and stuff like that is aged thinking. It is not how to make money in the 21st century. The internet is how to make money in the 21st century. The West Tigers are the best positioned club to capitalize on online revenue because we generate the most clicks and we have the best players who understand how to leverage it. And we also have the most podcasts per team.
Yes. So that's a call to sponsors. Look, I just want to talk about. Look, I think that 2 out of 3 of those, these rants, I've spoken about the Gold Coast Titans, and this week is going to be no different. I'm actually going to defend Des Hasler. Obviously, a champion of the game and a guy that revolutionised the way that teams attacked. Through the early 2010s with what he did with the Bulldogs. I think he did some amazing things with Manly, and his legacy would have been cemented even further in the pantheon of greats had he not run into a side that was millions of dollars over the cap. But and for that, I think he deserves a certain level of respect, and he did not get that from one Travis Main. I actually had a run-in with Travis, and when I say run-in, I actually told him that he was barely qualified to write an article, let alone pick up a pen, because he said about 4 years ago that the Tigers should be kicked out of the comp. Now, I don't necessarily have a bone to pick with Travis, but I think that in terms of the respect or lack thereof that Travis showed Des on the weekend was a little bit poor. The fact of the matter is this: if David Fifita is contracted until the end of 2026 and has not been given formal permission to negotiate, then what Des said he was well within his rights to say. That was completely understandable and warranted. He was allowed to play a straight bat. I don't think it was necessarily a cop-out. And then for him to turn around and start talking about the fact that there were more Warriors fans than Titans fans at the game, come on, Travis. Let's be realistic here. The West Tigers have played out at Campbelltown, which they continue to lose at. They have not engaged with that area for a very, very well until Shane Richardson walked through the building, but they still managed to get decent crowds. So if anything, that's on the club, whether it be the board, the CEO, the membership staff, and everybody in between to really pull their weight there. And yeah, I just thought it was a little bit disappointing to see, the complete lack of respect from Travis towards Des in that moment. But alas, I don't think we're going to see very many more Des Hasler press conferences anymore.
Yeah, and I think that's probably why it hurt, to be honest. Because I think everybody knows Des is 1 foot out the door. So for a journo to have a crack at him, it's like, mate, call up the owners of the team, because Des is not making any decisions about David Fifita's contract status. Not making any decisions about Tino Fa'asuamaleaui's contract status. And as you see, the next day, Josh Hannay was announced. So I think, I can't imagine that journo didn't know that, or didn't at least think of that. So all that leaves me to believe is that he was just trying to make himself look cool. That's what it comes across like. He was just trying to get some notoriety points and big note himself. Steve Mascord made a point though on X, sort of in Travis's defense, and I don't want to come across like I'm defending the guy, because my opinion is that he was being a wiener.
No, I think you've got a really good viewpoint here, and you really made me think about this. So please continue.
Yeah, so I think that Steve's point was that the fan reaction to that was a little bit conditioned based on the fact that we're so used to journos in the NRL fraternity asking coaches not very pointed questions, and coaches intimidating journalists a lot. Because the likes of Bennett and that, they're always very standoffish with the journos. You look at the way that journos talk to coaches in the English Premier League and in the NFL and stuff like that. They'll ask them pretty heated questions. They'll put not so much in the NFL, because they have beat reporters over there. It's even more protected species over there than it is in England. But European football especially, the journos go nuts. And I think that our coaches, I think what Steve said was our coaches don't really know how good they have it. And they're kind of used to getting baby spoon questions. And even when they get asked pointed questions, Wayne will just be like, well, it's a dumb question. And the journalists will just be like, thanks, Daddy Wayne, for making me look like a dickhead. I think what we did kind of see there was a journo kind of doing his job. I think he could have probably chosen a more reasonable moment to kind of make a journo doing his job kind of point, right? That particular situation was just the wrong man to attack at the wrong time. Hey, there's some NRL coaches right now who need scrutiny. There's some coaches of very, very good teams that have had pretty bad years this year that need some scrutiny. There's some teams at the bottom of the ladder that, you know, I think their coaches are not really copping much heat. Benji Marshall cops a shit ton. So it's hard to feel that bad.
Yeah, I agree. As a Tigers fan, it's one of those things where, you know, you go, okay, well, it's nice to have the blowtorch applied to someone else, but at the same time, I just thought the method in which he went about it was incorrect. But look, I get what you mean. The David Ornsteins of the world, and, you know, these beat reporters in the EPL and the press conferences, they go for 20, 30 minutes pre and post match. And, you know, I support Newcastle United, and there's a big story going on about our striker who is doing a little bit similar to Lachlan Galvin, wants to leave the club. The difference is that he's refusing to leave. And nearly every second question, pre-match, post-match, is about that situation. If that were to happen, you know, over here, I think it would be, it would get to a point where people would lose their marbles and tell, the journalists to sort of straighten up. But nonetheless, it makes for interesting viewing, and I'll be disappointed to never see another Des Hasler presser. But we roll on. One thing that I feel like we will probably always watch, because it seems to be written into the stars, are West Tigers losses when all the stars look to be aligning. I'm actually pretty proud of that segue. Look, for all the positives that this match brings and all the green shoots that it has, and we'll talk to them. I just feel really dejected. Look, I said it at the top of the year. I didn't think we were a chance of making the 8. We said at, the halfway mark that we were on track for about an 11th or 12th place finish. I think that's probably going to be the case, given what the statistics were saying. But when there's life, there's hope, and there was plenty of it. And after Brent Naden scored under the sticks, there was hope galore until there wasn't. A Jake Clifford kick, which went 70 or 80 metres, pinned us down. Latu Fainu unfortunately shot the ball and was sent up the tunnel for a HIA. There was no cohesion and no understanding of each other on that right edge. Cowboys go bang, 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 and we lose by 4 points. Mac, how do you sum up how you're feeling?
I feel like very different to how I felt after the game. So let me ask myself a different question. How did I feel after the game? I felt like this.
Let the record show. It looks like he's in the morgue.
I felt like this. I was like, Also, I was like surprised because I really honestly thought we were going to score again and set us a golden point until the final whistle. Like, I honestly, I was just like, there's just no way. Like, it was like, I was just bemused. I was like, there's just no way. There's no way this ends like this. Because, so, as you say, the stars were aligning. So much was going right. The Eels thrashed the Roosters. And but then I guess the big omen in the end was the fact that I put up that post on social media with Adam Dewey getting the crown put on his head, and then he got crowned. I don't know if everybody saw, but I put up a social media post where it was like, today the prince becomes the king, and I had Adam Dewey with somebody off screen putting a crown on his head. And yeah, and it's getting good traction on TikTok and stuff. And then next minute, he gets smashed in the head by Jason Taumalolo, and he ends up with the dent in his exactly where the crown would go. So sorry, Adam. I think it was me.
Yeah, and I really feel for Adam, and I feel for the boys. Look, I thought Latu did an amazing job as a fill-in, but losing, Dewey and what he's brought to this team. We didn't so much lose it with Latu's kicking game. I think he was kicking it higher and longer, which was a wonderful thing. But obviously, not having an informed Adam Dewey, at Leichhardt Oval where he's been the hero the last couple of times, was disappointing. But I want to bring up something that AJ was talking about in terms of who do you blame for the missed tackles that led to those tries? Was it Brent Naden? Now, there are going to be players that miss specific tackles, right? That is always going to be the case. But I want to not necessarily, defend anyone or come to anyone's defense, because everybody, has to be held accountable. But to give you an idea, we started this year with concerns around our right side defense as it was, but the personnel have completely changed. And it started with Lachlan Galvin, Alex Seyfarth, Stafford Toa, and Sania Taruva. Need I remind everybody what has happened with Lachlan Galvin? Nonetheless, he's gone. Alex Seyfarth started the year off reasonably well, but as time has gone on, has sort of, made it clear to the coaching staff that he's better suited off the bench. As a result, he was moved to the Pine, and they've experimented with Tony Sukar and then eventually Sonny Fainu. At right centre, Stafford's had his injury troubles, particularly in the last couple of months, and Tito has been moved from the right edge to the left, so that way we can build on his combination with Taylor May. And, I'm not going to sit here and say, that was the wrong thing to do because of what happened on Sunday, because, the magic that those two are continuing to create on that left edge is something that, has brought so much joy to us over these past few weeks. But what that does is that when you replace every single player on that edge, it creates a lack of cohesion, a lack of trust, and ultimately points are going to come. You can defend as best as you can, and I understand that the season was on the line, and we have to be better. We had to be better, and I'm sure that the playing group have put their hands up about that. But when you don't know the cues and the body language of the man inside you or outside you, it makes it increasingly hard to defend. And when you have a guy like Scott Drinkwater, who is one of the greatest attacking players of the last 10 years, along with Tom Dearden, who will bite as deep into the line as possible to try and get defenders to commit, it makes for pretty ugly viewing. And that's what happened in that 5-minute period. And that's how I sum it up. And, losing Adam was, all the cohesion from the week was gone. Losing Latu meant that any sort of relative cohesion that they had built in the time where he was starting at 7 or playing on that right edge was also gone. And suddenly, where the points are going to come from.
Yeah, I think that maybe a part of me thought that they were going to move Naden to 6. And I think they ended up moving Appy into the halves instead. I don't know. I feel like that Naden to the halves would have been the play, to be honest. I think that I think it would have been a little bit better. It would have meant a little bit better cohesion. Appy would have still been at 9. We would have had a better chance to actually get that last try. I think. I don't know. It's if some butts were candy and nuts, as they say. Look, I actually, part of me wants to just tip my hat to the Cowboys. I know a lot of West Tigers fans don't feel that way. Like, a lot of West Tigers fans are very much just like the Tigers for letting that one slip. But the Cowboys played good. That was the best the Cowboys have played in a very long time. They really showed up in a hostile environment. They didn't play as good as us outside that 5-minute period. We definitely were the better team for the majority of the game, but they never quit. They kept coming. They didn't beat themselves, and there were many chances for them to quit that game. There was with the intensity the Tigers were playing with, the fact that the Cowboys are not actually in finals contention, it would have been very easy. And I thought it was going to happen multiple points in that game. It would have been very easy for the Cowboys to just go, these guys want it more than us today. And I think that it was about to happen. And then Peyton sent that fucking Jason Taumalolo back out onto the field, and he changed the fucking game again. Not not in terms of he made a huge play, but he just started carrying the ball, get behind me, boys, hitting the collision. And I think that without him, we probably would have run away with that pretty convincingly. I feel like if he didn't come back on the field at the exact time that he did, I reckon we probably would have put on another 2-3 tries, and it might have ended up a bit of a flogging. So it's obviously Latu dropping the ball and then the Cowboys scoring those tries and stuff like that. But to me, I feel like Jason Taumalolo coming back onto the field in that second half was the real difference maker of that game.
Mate, flowers to the OTR boys. They said it last week that, they don't care what other people say. They are a much better side when Taumalolo's in there, and, what he does for everybody in terms of being that rising tide that lifts all ships. It hurts to be on the receiving end of. Before we talk about that try, that was obviously the best piece of attacking play that we have produced in many, many years. I asked how you were feeling then. I want to know how you're feeling now. Is it hope for the future? Is it optimism? Are you seeing
Oh,
green shoots, or is it something else entirely?
no, I'm incredibly optimistic. Incredibly optimistic. Look, I could honestly look, man. The chances of even if we won all 3 games, the chances of us making the 8 were slim. Okay,
Absolutely.
to lose that game, to say that we missed the 8 because we lost that game it's bullshit. We missed the 8 because we lost a lot more games than just that game. We missed the 8 because Lachlan Galvin dropped the ball over the line, or earlier in the season when we in the first round when we somehow lost to the Newcastle Knights 10-8. There were other games that were much more telling. We missed the 8 because we went on a big losing streak and couldn't really get out of the pit of despair. We missed the 8 because Lachlan Galvin decided to agitate for a release in the middle of the year and we lost to cohesion, which completely ruined our right edge. We didn't miss the 8 because the Cowboys scored 3 tries in 5 minutes in this game. Okay, that's not why we missed the 8. We were probably going to miss the 8 anyway. Now, if you take away, if we had already been out of the running, let's say we had lost the previous, games, and that performance there was not the performance of a side that's given up on the coach, given up on each other. It was a performance of a side that very specifically lost because of specific players that are not going to be there next year. They what the heck happened there? Did you change the layout?
Yeah.
I think you might have.
No, I don't.
Anyway, I went over there for a second. Brent Naden is, pretty much responsible for 3 of the 3 tries, or very, very culpable for 3 of those tries. He's not going to be here next year, I don't think. He certainly won't be playing first grade if he is, unless we have an absolutely crazy injury crisis. If he gets re-signed, it's going to be on a train and troll, or he'll be squad member number 30 or something like that. Amasi Makasini is going to jump in, and Taylor may start for Toll will be around, and Luke Lawley will be more developed, so on and so forth. He'll be so far down the depth chart, the chances of him playing will be very, very slim. And then there's more players coming into the side too that are going to fix up that right edge as well. So I think that the Tigers of 2026 would have won that game in a canter. The Tigers with the players that we have in 2026 would have won that game if we had those players now. If we had future Hiamasi Makasini version and we had KPP and, so on and so forth, and whoever else they might freaking manifest in the offseason. So that's to say, of course, there's cause for optimism. We didn't scrape into the 8 in 2004.
Yes.
Right? We didn't scrape into the 8 and get knocked out in the first round in 2004. And we didn't scrape into the 8 in 2005. And we didn't scrape into the 8 in 2010 or 2011 for that matter either. So to even say that for long term, I mean, obviously it's nice, but to say for long term that if we had have done that miracle, it would have been fabulous because it would have been a miracle. But that's why it would have been fabulous. And we probably would have just got mollywopped in the first week by the team that finishes 5th and we'd been out on our ass. Because our side can't compete with in that semi-finals into, who knows? Yeah, again, it's so hypothetical. But point is, there's been so much improvement in this team from last year. Benji Marshall has grown in leaps and bounds as a coach in just the last month. His body language is different. People can tell, the pundits can tell, the media is saying different things about us. Even in the post game, you would think that they would have been the Tigers back to their old ways. Nah, none of it. Because the media know better. They know that they turned up. The side turned up, and they just got beaten by a side that just threw a fucking Hail Mary late in the 12th round and slipped him on the chin. That's what happened. It was we were up 8 rounds to 3 and basically, we're coming in hot. And instead of just, maybe playing playing the defensive game in the 12th round and trying to avoid the shots, Latu Fainu tried to freaking put on a play and dropped it. Pretty good analogy. my analogies are pretty mixed. That one was pretty good. I rate that analogy. And so yes, I am beyond optimistic for next year. And I know it's the curse of the West. I know it's the curse of the West Tigers fan, but like, it's so hard for me to see how they won't improve again next year. Like, it's so hard for me to see how they won't improve again next year because they have so much improvement in them. And they spent so much of this year clearly not even remotely close. They were like playing most of their games, in my opinion, at their floor. Like I even mentioned last week, I didn't think that game looked like a Tigers side that were like in red hot form. It looked like a good side winning against a really bad side without really having to push very hard.
Yep.
So for me, what this game on the weekend looked like, which is so strange because the Cowboys' form coming into it and the fact that they're out of the running, is it just looked like the Cowboys finally clicked. Yeah, I just feel like it's so unlucky because like. And who knows, man? Maybe it was because it was at Leichhardt. Maybe it was because it was us. Maybe it was because of the 05 team being there. Maybe it was because Todd Payton was their coach. And maybe Todd Payton was just like into him. I know in the post game, Scott Drinkwater was getting interviewed and said that John Bateman like tried to roll the boys up and say it was his GF. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, Scott Drinkwater, like literally when he was being interviewed by the Matty Johns show people after the game, was just like, yeah, John Bateman was saying this was his grand final, so there was that. He's wrapped. So, I mean, they definitely I think that and I think they have the bye in the last round too. So I think that the Cowboys were kind of that one there saves Payton's job, and I think that might have been what the players did. I think that they turned up for Todd Payton, to be honest.
And there's a fair chance. I was hoping that Toddy would throw it, given all the 05 celebrations and whatnot, but not to be.
I mean, it would have been good for him though, because I think they had the 05 drinks after the game. He would have rolled in his Cowboys gear, like, "Hey, on boys!"
Man, sure. Look, again, credit to the Cowboys, which hurt. You know, they exploited that right edge, which was shaky after 2 injuries in game, but also. A pretty turbulent midpoint of the year, but I completely agree with you, and I revel in your optimism, and I cannot wait to see what this team produces next year. And they are only going to build on it, and stability is going to be our friend next year. And I'm so excited by what they're building, and that was really typified by that try, which was so uncanny to 05.
Such a good try.
Oh, as you said on X, follow us if you haven't already. That try deserves so much more. Shades of half time. 3 minutes away, and for the work of mainly Tito Taruga, that step where he almost pulled back and then sort of very very how do you say, interestingly sort of jolted across, and then sort of managed to get the ball to Jareem Buller. It was phenomenal.
Agreed.
Are you drinking again?
No, this is hop infused sparkling water. Actually, it tastes like beer, but it doesn't make you act like a dickhead. Which actually brings us to today's sponsor, the Non-Alcoholic Club. If you're like me and you've stepped away from booze, you'll know how hard it can be to find something that feels social, fun, and let's be honest, tasty. The Non-Alcoholic Club makes that easy. It's Australia's go-to online store for craft beers, wines, spirits, even hop-infused seltzers, all without the hangover, the regret, or the why did I text my ex at 2 a.m. moment. Reedy knows all about that one. They've got all the best local and international brands curated in one place, delivered straight to your door. So whether you're just cutting back, going sober, or looking for a better alternative on game day, they've got you covered. Hit up the nonalcoholicClub.com, fill your cart with some grown-up drinks that don't make you feel like you're missing out, and start enjoying your nights and your mornings again.
That was awesome. I don't know that would happen. Thank you, Non-Alcoholic Club. You absolute legends. Let's preview this game.
I stitched him up a little bit with that one.
Canberra, 3 p.m., one of the toughest road trips you could ever make. And it's made even harder by the fact that a win here seals the minor premiership for the Canberra Raiders after what has been a phenomenal season for them. Team news, obviously, Adam Dewey is out with a facial fracture. That means that Latu Fainu will come into the starting 7 jersey after passing his HIA in the shades of full time. Heath Mason then comes onto the bench to be the utility. Other than that, the side is unchanged, but jersey 18 is one Hiamasi Makasini, which is causing a fair amount of chatter both here, as CB is intimating, and elsewhere. I have a question for you, Mac, given to us by the great Jeremy of Mayhem or Stephen Tudden. He said sort of prior to the knowledge of teams, because he asked it at about 3 o'clock, is it more important to get the win and possibly risk Makasini against the Raiders or play Naden to protect Makasini now that we can't make finals?
Oh no, we play him. Like there's no protecting this kid. He doesn't need protecting. Like, he's a beast. He's a physical beast. He played New South Wales Cup on the weekend and he scored a slashing try. But not only did he score a slashing try, he belts people, dude. He belts grown-ass men. I know that the Raiders have good centers. So, you know, they've got some hard-running centers in Chris and Tomoko. He'll handle it. He'll handle it just fine. Mate, look, what are you going to protect him from? A potential, like, you know, freak injury? Are you going to protect him from a flogging and you don't want to, like, you know, risk his mindset? Mate, he's playing New South Wales Cup. They're getting flogged. Like, nah, like this is, now that the season's done with, pressure's off from that perspective, now's a good time to blood him. Give him the Raiders game because it's against the benchmark. It's like into the fire in that sense. Get him to see what the best of the best looks like, and then send him up on the trial match to the Gold Coast that'll be in party mode, and watch him cut sick. No, I'm all for blooding him. I think it's great. I don't actually think Stafford will miss this game though. I think Stafford will play. I think, like, the fact that Stafford got named last week, even though he was a late withdrawal, means that it's pretty unlikely he'll be out. I think. I think that it's very likely Star just plays, because I think if Star wasn't going to play, like if this was a smoke and mirrors thing, and Star's like out, I think Naden would have got named at 4, not Stafford.
Yeah, I tend to agree. But also the stacking of the outside backs like they did last week on the extended bench makes me wonder. I feel as if Christian Mapapalangi has probably fallen down the pecking order after his performance on the weekend, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But I wouldn't be particularly surprised to see Hiamasi come in. The question is just a matter of where. Benji made, wanted to make a real point of the fact that Hiamasi is a left center player. Do you move Taylor to the right?
Nah, you can't, because Taylor, not right now, because Taylor is the form left center in the NRL and has just really formed a really good combo with Luai on the left. So to me, yeah, and Mabal Palangi's a left center too, to be honest. So if you look at the numbers, Naden's the last on the list. And there usually is a subtle implication there. Like, if there's players that are more likely to play, they tend to have the lower numbered jerseys. So that really makes me think that Stafford has really no chance of missing this game, because the right center option there is Naden. If Naden was actually going to play for Star, I'd say Naden would be in jersey 18, if not even on the bench as cover, because Naden does have utility value in that way. So from that perspective, I'm wondering whether maybe Marcy comes onto the bench. If he's going to play him, I think it might be that. I think that he might end up just starting him on the bench so that the sting gets taken out of the game early, bring him on after 20, 25, maybe even 30 minutes, or maybe even for 30 minutes in the second half even, right? Bring him straight into left center. At which time maybe you just move Taylor May to 13. Because Taylor May can definitely play 13. Like and if you're just doing it in the back half of the game, Taylor May moving into the middle and causing Taylor May-esque chaos in the middle would be pretty fun watch. I know a lot of people might not know this, but Taylor spent a lot of time in the middle growing up, not at 13, but at 9. So he can definitely hold his own defensively in the middle.
It'll make it intriguing, yeah, exactly. Because I agree, I think the bench might make sense, but there's every chance that you could do, maybe hypothetically, there's questions around Turuva's defence, and I wouldn't do this, but maybe you play 2 fullbacks either edge, which you ream one side, Sania the other, and then you park Marcy on the left wing. Whether that's a potential option. Look, I'm just sitting here spitballing, and as you say, Stafford may well be a chance. If anybody saw Terrell May's vlog from the week previous, you'd be surprised, but who knows where he's at. I'd prefer that they retire him to the stable, and I would rather us just see what Mapapalang he's got and whether or not there's any chance of, sort of giving him a crack, but at the risk of obviously pissing off Mussy. So
I think that Mapapalangi would have been, if Mapapalangi's going to play this year, I think this would have been the week that he would have been wearing the number 14 jersey that Mason's named in. Because Mason's obviously being a straight swap for what role they had Latu playing, because he can obviously play 6, and I assume that they probably intend to bring Mason on, to play that sort of 13 role that Latu had been playing, that second pivot role that's sort of like just to supplement Latu, maybe a bit like Dewey. Mapapalangi would have been in the frame for playing that role too. Whereas obviously if it's Marcy, well, Marcy's not a middle. So there's also a chance maybe they just put Marcy straight onto the left wing and move Skelton to the bench, because Skelton could probably cover in the forwards pretty well, I would imagine, like as a bench player, especially at this time of the season when you're really like looking for answers in the depth chart and kind of seeing what you've got and stuff like that. This would, maybe not be the worst time to give Skelton just 20 minutes in the second half in the back row just to see if he can handle it. And who knows, maybe he folds 2 people and scores a try in the back row, and then suddenly you've got some questions about the offseason and what you're going to do with Jarrell Skelton. So yeah, there's lots to do here. It's a fun game. It's a fun game from an experimental perspective. And look, I hope he picks Marcy, because it'll just make the game so much more watchable and interesting. Like if we get to game time and Marcy's not in the 17, well, I don't know. I think it would also probably just give the boys a little bit of extra lift too, because I know that the team's very excited to get Marcy into the 17. They've been talking him up. And every time somebody asks any of them a question about him, you can see the look in their eyes. Their mentality changes. Like, just wait till you see this kid. And you and I have heard rumors about what he was like in the preseason, like absolutely stomping the first graders and stuff like that. Benji's done him a service by holding him out as long as he has. Because if there was ever a kid at the West Tigers that they could have justified going to the NRL to get the under-18s dispensation to play, it would have been him. So I think Benji's showed a lot of patience waiting until now to even give him an extended bench spot. Look, I think he'll give him every chance. I think he'll be, obviously he's in jumper 18, so he's going to be training with the NRL team all week. If he like trains the house down this week and then brains them in the captain's run, how do you not pick him? You'd have to, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I think you're going to get a choice. So we'll see. Moving on, there's something that I really just mainly want to talk about this game, and I'm really interested to see how the boys respond and perform, because we're hearing a lot of this stuff about wanting to finish as high as we can on the ladder. We're not worried about finals. We're taking it day by day and week by week. We're just trying to get better. Now, if that's true, then we should see a similar performance in regards to application and effort. But whether or not that happens is another thing entirely. I think that there's a fair chance that we might land somewhere in the middle where, we show some fight for probably the first 30 to 35, and then the Raiders really get a bit of a roll on, and then the scoreline could get a bit ugly, and then we obviously take home a win against the Titans in the last match. But Yeah, I'm really, really curious to see what attitude these boys turn up with. Because if they turn up with the same
Mhm.
application and play from minute 1 to minute 80, I'll be really enthused. But as it can happen at this time of year, and it happened to the Dragons on Thursday, sometimes it only takes, your mindset to be a bit off in terms of, oh, well, we're not playing for postseason anymore, and things can get very, very ugly very, very quickly.
Yeah, it definitely could. But it's only happened once this year so far where the Tigers sort of got blotted well twice if you count the Panthers game. And the Panthers game, their effort didn't really waver. They didn't really seem to break. They didn't get broken. They just got really badly beaten by a way better side. And a defensive juggernaut at a time where our attack had yet to quite click. I don't know. This is an interesting one. I think we'll run them close. To be honest, I don't think that this Tigers team are going to be. Put it this way: they've got 2 games left until the off season, and they've only just really found their identity, and they've only just found their form. They're gonna be, man, just like fans, 2 weeks until we don't get to play a game in anger until bloody March or February. So they've got 2 weeks to have fun. They've got 2 weeks to make the most of this newfound spirit, these newfound combos. Latu Fanu's got 2 weeks now to get the jump on Adam Dewey for the 7 jersey. I know Jerome Luai in that. Jerome Luai and Terrell May will have them all pretty amped up. Jerome Luai is not gonna. He won't stop. He won't quit. That was his best game of the season on the weekend by a country mile.
It was.
I actually think. I said I think that might have been the best game I've ever seen him play. Period. Personally,
He was wonderful. Absolutely.
like it was.
He is improving with every passing day on that left edge and in the role that he has grown into in these last few weeks of the season. Look, we spoke about it last time in terms of the blueprint to beat Canberra, and we went close against them. And some would argue that some bounce of the ball calls and the opportunity to have the game over again, we might have done things differently. The only way that I think you beat this side is if you out effort them, and that comes with line speed, kick chase, kick pressure, work from market, tying in, looking after your man on the inside, all of those different types of things. They're going to have to scramble hard. This is a side with speed and size in the outside backs, with grit and strength through the middle, with flair on their edges, and just pure energy and excitement in the spine. They are a massive, massive assignment. They are top of the table for a reason. But the only way that you can beat the best is if you are willing to go that extra mile with those 1%ers, as cliche as it sounds. And that genuinely is the only way they're going to be able to do it.
I think that the key to the game is our back row defense. Because I think that if there's players who, they're fresh in terms of week in, week out in our role, their mental is not necessarily up to it, who line up against players that could potentially cause them some serious trouble. It's Sam Weller and Sione Fainu defensively. Sam Weller and Sione Fainu defensively. Also, if Stafford's out, the combo on the right-hand side will be, again, very new, depending on who they bring in, even if it's Naden again, which I doubt it will be. Ethan Strange running the way he runs, with the back rower outside of him and the center outside of him that he'll have, running on either side of the ball, whichever side it is. I know he prefers the left, but he might pop up on the right. He's going to cause that back row fits. And it'll be Sione most of the time.
Yeah.
Sione is not used to defending in the back row. His defensive game is not his strength. So I think that, if I was Benji Marshall, I'd be very much drilling defensive reads. I'd be training with, Heath Mason trying to get on the outside of Sione Fainu all week. Running at him, passing, running, kicking him behind the line, just freaking giving him every possible look possible I think Mason would be the closest comp to Ethan Strange that we have that could possibly play that role. And hope that Ethan Strange doesn't tear him a new one, because to me that's the threat. And I think from that perspective, like if we can shut down Ethan Strange, if we can get up in his face and cut him off, which is easier said than done because he's so strong at breaking through tackles. If we can shut him down, it'd be a very close game. And at that point, you're probably looking at the difference just being the class of Canberra, just, maybe even like Jamal Fogarty, just like kicking game with, the absence of Adam Dewey and things like that probably becomes the thing that separates them at that point. But if we let Ethan Strange play a free-flowing game, we let Canberra get the ball to him out the back in space and get him, he gets opportunities to run free. If he gets the ball off offloads in the middle of the field, stuff like that, we could be in for a long night.
With you there, that is very much the blueprint. Stop Strange, and I think that we don't mind a grind. We've just got to go with them set for set as best as possible. Fogarty's going to suffocate you. You've just got to hang in there, and you've got to soak up the pressure. And defensive reads are so important. And the way that our right edge has been dismantled this year, I do expect points to leak. It's just a question of how much. I don't revel or share your sort of optimism for this week, but nonetheless, that's okay, mate. Do you want to do a prediction this week?
Oh yeah, we don't bitch out anymore. We're podcasters, West Tigers podcasters. We make predictions. I'm gonna say West Tigers in an upset win. I think that the West Tigers are going to win this game in a very, very weird upset. And I think it's going to largely be because Canberra played like their worst game of the season. I don't know why. I have a feeling that Canberra are going to play their worst game of the season this week and come home at us, but we'll hold them off. I actually think we'll get out to like a 22-4 lead or something. And then Canberra will come storming home, and we'll just all be shitting ourselves, and we'll hold off. I think they'll miss a goal at the end that could tie the game, and we'll win at 22-20.
Now that would be phenomenal. I do not share the same way. I think it'll finish 42-16. I think it'll be really close for about 35 minutes. I think they might score one or two late before half time, and then sort of the first 10 to 15 fight, and then they. The minor premiership celebrations kick off in the nation's capital. But I would love to be wrong, and I would love for you to be right. So we will see at another time. Guys, we are going to jump into pathways. So obviously Flag, New South Wales Cup and the NRLW. But just a quick reminder, if you have any questions, we will try and do them for a Q&A. At the back end, please dump in any questions. We have a couple already, thanks to Stephen Tudden on X. But if you can fire them in now, we'll try and get to them before the conclusion of the show. Now, very quickly, let's talk New South Wales Cup. Pretty dreary affair, aside from the main positive of one, Kit Laulii. I thought he was excellent. Obviously the Hiamasi Makasini try was great. Couple of sort of teething problems defensively, but that I've got no issue with that. Good to see Phoenix got an A. Sort of didn't really look out of place on debut, although I had some slight concerns around him being blooded too early. I'm happy to be wrong about that. And Christian Torpau-Moores continues to develop in this grade, which is really, really exciting. But this was a tough old week, and we spoke about him earlier in the show, and Charlie Staines, but that edge, that right edge defensively was tested out very much by a very, very experienced halves pairing for the Canterbury Bulldogs, and it showed on the scoreline.
Yeah, it was a really hard watch. Really unenjoyable experience listening to Bar TV sports commentary while the Magpies got their asses handed to them. Toby Sexton, I don't know what the Dogs are doing, picking Galvin over him. I know Sexton's no world beater, but Galvin is so out of form and so unprepared. They need to give Galvin the off season before they really stretch him. Toby Sexton can definitely do the job. Like he gave them a bath on the weekend. I know he was playing the Magpies reserve grade team. Look, main thing I want to point out is that try here Marcy Marcassini scored, and if you haven't seen it, please hit us up. I put it up on Instagram. I put it up on TikTok. So gets the ball in space, which is something that, frankly, whenever he does get the ball in the position where they're deep on the attack, say 12 out, and he gets the ball, in enough space where he can isolate his center, or even run at the winger and force the winger to make a decision to either sag off him or commit to him. It is a try every time. It doesn't matter who he will play against. He will put a try on in that situation anytime. And it's one of the most stock standard plays to create in the NRL playbook, in the rugby league playbook. His capacity to turn that stock standard spread into a try is all due to the fact that he will beat anybody one-on-one. He's fast enough to get outside of them, and if they dive at him and try to tackle him, he's way too strong. He will break through anybody's defense who tries to do that. And the winger, see, the thing is that he does that while also threatening the pass, because he has the Gaznia flick.
Yes.
He has he does it. He does it better than Gaznia. Like his ability to release the winger with his left hand, it's like it arrives like a pillow on their chest. So he'll hold the ball out in his left paw, with his hand turned around, like he's threatening to pass, and he can dummy because his hand's so big. He can get his hand around the ball. He can dummy the flick. And so what he did to score that try is he was threatening Blake Wilson, who for a New South Wales Cup winger is about the best in the league, right? Blake Wilson bites the dummy and he brushes off the centre, who I believe on that side of the field was Sewer. It was either Sewer or Cassius Tia. Both very good players. Easy try. And he had a quiet year in SG ball this season because he didn't get the ball in that position almost once the entire season. There was I can't remember them actually releasing him. Jerome Luai is going to put him in that position 35 times next year if he's the left center. You can see Taylor May scoring tries at will in left center. Marcy will do very much the same, if not more. Because I think he's a better ball player than Taylor. I think he's got that to his bow. He's probably faster. He's bigger, and he's gonna. By the time he's 22, he'll be playing international football. I know it's such a West Tigers fan thing to say, but yeah, the kid's insane, man. He's just nuts. Now, aside from Marcy, I want to give a shout out to Kit Lolalele. That was the best game in his career, hands down. Kit ran like a freaking truck, and we've seen him do that before. In most games, he comes on and he runs hard, but he usually does it for 4 carries. Right. And he'll also miss 4 tackles. This time he did it for 9 carries, which for a middle is, pass, get 9 good solid hit ups in for 80 minutes. That's all right. The 11 or 12 is better, but you get 9 in, it's okay. 130 meters, I think, off the 9 carries or something. And the try he scored was so good. Just shot out of a cannon, just steamrolled some dudes close to the line and just go straight over. Kit, I saw something in him that really excited me for next year. I think he, with a big off season, you might actually see him, especially because we need some more, depth in the middle. We might be able to actually get something out of him. So I thought Kit was the best on ground for us by a mile. Aside from scoring that try, Marcy was okay. And to your point, I think, look, Gordonay didn't really, he was very, very keen to get involved. He didn't shy away from things. He made a fair few carries. He got dominated a bit, but also he wasn't really, I think, he wouldn't have trained with the New South Wales Cup side, so he wasn't really being given quality opportunities. So the fact that he's like, I think it was like 26 meters from 6 carries or something, right? Like, but the fact is that most of those carries were like him picking up the ball off of an offload that went to ground, and there being defenders right on top of him, and he would still beat the first defender by just like judo throwing him off him. Like, so look, Phoenix he's a gun. He'll be okay. And Christian Tapamore, similar sort of situation for him, except for the fact that at the very end, the one thing I want to report with Christian Tapamore is for the first time in a long time, I saw a West Tigers middle forward who just seemed like he wanted to fight people. Like by the end of that game, like he got pissed off by one of the Bulldogs players, and the look on his face is just like, let's go. Come on, let's go. Like, and we need more forwards like that at the club.
He is that guy, bro. He wants that smoke.
Yeah, because we got pacifists, we got vegans and fucking crystal mums for forwards. So we need some pods and hard running kit. And look, Peter Tarteo was similar. He ran hard too. When at the start of the game we were pretty competitive. We were going blow for blow with the Bulldogs. When Kit and Peter were on the field, they went off. We got flogged. They came back on, sort of stabilized things. And you know that's been the problem in this New South Wales Cup side. Many of the weeks that we've lost. And to be honest, you know, the fact that we see named this week a lot of new faces, a lot of future prospects, a lot of, you know, flag players, a lot of like, you know, future development players are just being now just blooded in New South Wales Cup. Just goes to show what the West Tigers football operation are doing with that New South Wales Cup side. It has very little to do with winning games. It's all about player development, and it always has been. And that's why the results sometimes seem to make no sense. And I'm done with blaming Aaron Payne, because now I've come to realize it, not just from observation, but from having conversations with people, that he's just picking the teams that Benji's telling him to pick. He's picking if Benji says I want that player in New South Wales Cup this week, they get picked. And if he says I want that guy coming on the field at this time in the game, they come on that field at this time in the game. Aaron Payne doesn't really have that much to like when you kind of forced into that situation, it's hard to be blamed for the results.
Yeah, I'm with you there, and that is something that we've both learnt as time has gone on. And you mentioned the team list. Luke Lallee is back at fullback this week. Charlie Staines returns to the wing. Marcy Makasini has been named at left centre. Christian Mapapalangi to the right. Brent Naden will return to that side in jersey 6. That means Kit Lallee and Peter Tarteo will remain starting in the front row. Solomon Asakuru will start in the back row, which is super exciting. And then the bench is all jersey flag eligible players: Josesi Lanyon, Phoenix Godinay, Elijah Matale, and Iverson Matai, which is pretty exciting, I think. And also to have Lachlan Broadalow and Max Tautour on the extended bench. So as you say, it's all about development. They are very, very much on the development train with these last couple of weeks. So if you
watch, there'll be late changes there too. I reckon there'll be even more flag players playing.
Exciting times, you know, and going up against a very, very young and inexperienced cup side that the Roosters have as well, with the exception of guys like Chad Townsend, Pauga, and Junior Tupou, is going to be a really, really exciting test for those boys. So bring that on. Fleg, they actually went 7 tries each. There was a flurry at the back end. There was 3 tries in the last 5 minutes. In another really, really interesting game played out against the Canterbury Bulldogs in this grade. Admittedly, I didn't see heaps of this one, mate. So if you can enlighten us.
Yeah, I didn't either, dude. If I'm being honest, I switched it off after, I think after Bronson Rubin scored his second try. So I missed 5 of the Tigers' tries.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, it looks like, I'm just looking at the result. I'm actually surprised. I honestly should have done my homework on this one, but like we were getting so flogged when I switched it off that I haven't actually gone back to revisit it, even though I interviewed Tino Tavana on Sunday night. Oops. By the way, I interviewed Tino Tavana on Sunday night. Hopefully, I'll be able to edit that one up and get it out to you. But we had some technical difficulties, so I might need to redo it. But
and we'll talk a little bit more about both Blake Vandree and Siatame Havea plus Tino a little bit more towards the end of the
in the off-season.
When we his wrap.
It makes sense now because, like, I had a question for him when I was talking about goal kicking, and I'm like, "Hey, yeah, so you kick goals?" And he's like, "Well, sometimes." I was like, "You kick goals? How much do you practice?" He's like, "Well, actually, it was funny." He said the park's gates have been locked, so he hasn't been able to practice his goal kicking.
So we'll open the gates for Tino. Forget hashtag Dev for Tino. Give us hashtag open the gates for Tino.
Like, I mean, surely some Tigers fan out there has some poles in their backyard. Just go around to their house, Tino, and practice the goal kicking, brother. He also said that there's a West Tigers
back paddock that Tino Tavana can use to kick goals.
He also said there's a West Tigers fan from Brisbane named Stefan that's been following him throughout his career that sends him clips of the West Tigers Faithful podcast every time we talk about him.
Oh, grouse. Okay. And what does he think of it?
I didn't ask that. I didn't dare ask that. I just asked if he listens to us, and he said yes. I didn't say, do you love it? Do you think it's the best pod? Do you think we're the 7th or 8th best podcast?
We don't need that. I was just thoughts. I thought he might have actually. Yeah, wasn't a.
He said some interesting stuff. Like he mentioned that. I asked him what players he thought were, potentially being under the radar a bit. He said the Tatua brothers. He said the Tatua brothers are gonna explode soon. They must have improved a lot this season because he was pretty adamant that they're both gonna go on to bigger and better things. And the other player he mentioned was Jesse Lanyon. He said he's never even heard of Jesse until the preseason, and he just showed up and he just started braining everybody. So. But yeah, no, it looks, I'll have to go back and watch the highlights. Look, it was really difficult to watch for the majority of that game. The Dogs were impressive. I was particularly impressed with Bronson Rubin, who I've never heard of before.
He's good.
He's real good, and he looks like for the boys on the Discord, you'll like this one. How I sometimes, when I used to drink, I used to pull up all the players' faces and just like predict whether they were going to be good based on their head ratings. Bronson Rubin's he's got an immortal head. He looks like a young Joey Johns sort of head on him. So yeah, keep an eye out for that kid. He's pretty good. I think he was playing 6 if I remember correctly, but. Yeah, no, wasn't much to write home about. NRLW,
30
they got pumped. We got Ruby Fafita debut. Congratulations, Ruby Fafita, little sister of JoJo.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah, she got signed from the same carnival knockout comp in the lead up to the Magic round that we signed Portia Burke. So Ruby's come in as injury cover for one of our forwards that's gone down. And to be honest, she was probably our best player. And to top it off, she backed up from the women's premiership game the day before.
Wow.
She played the women's, and she's a middle. So she played the women's premiership game the day before, made her NRLW debut the next day, and she was good. She was real good.
Congratulations.
Yeah, good signing for the NRLW side. Cowboys far too good though. Look, I think that there's just I don't know, the NRLW side. There's without Lutu. I really need to get an update on Lutu's status because she's been out for a few weeks now. But without Lutu, Faith Minera does almost all the kicking. And Faith Minera's, she can kick the ball. When she drops the ball onto her foot, it go up and ball go up. Like she knows how to kick it. But it's pretty much it's where it sort of starts and ends. Like she just kick it straight to the fullback, and like it's just there's no threat to it. And Even though we've got those great middles and we often get to the 50, like we'll make good meters coming out of our own end and get down to the 50 and sometimes into the other team's half. At the end of at the end of it, the clearing kick or the bomb, it just goes like 20 meters up in the air and they catch it on the 30 and then they come back to the 40 and it's like, yeah. And to be honest, that was kind of honestly the knock on Lou to herself too. She's not the best kicker in that sense either. So,
Yeah.
and I know it's NRLW. That's really what separates the good sides from the one of the things that separates the good sides from the bad. You look at the Broncos, you know, they've got Brigginshaw who can like huck the ball, and she's like real good tactical kicker. Southwell at the Knights, you know, obviously the Roosters have, you know, good halves that can kick the ball. So because it's so easy in the NRLW, like to if you kick the ball into like down the own end and you know you trap them on their 2 meter line, right? The chances of you causing an error are so high because like I don't know, there's just something about the way that they play. They really struggle in that like confined environment. And it's really easy to pin sides down in that context. So to not be able to actually achieve that, even though you can get down to the halfway line or even into the other half, it really makes it hard. Really makes it hard.
Absolutely. Well, look, another week without Lozana. Good luck to the girls against Canberra this weekend. I think it's 11th plays 12th. You never know. Well, I guess we'll find out.
They did win New South Wales Women's Premiership, by the way.
Oh,
they did win. They were the only side in the. We went from getting the feature to having them be the only side that won a game. So,
well, good on the girls. How good's that? Okay, all right. Well, mate, we are pretty much at the end. I only have 2 questions from what I can see beyond what Blaine has asked. I'll go there first. With Marcy in the team next year, do you see us finally putting kicks to the corner for our outside backs to actually contest aerially?
It seems like it's just not what we do. Hey, like it's like. Yeah, maybe. Marcy's not noted for that either, though. Like, I know he's tall, and I'm sure he can do it, but like he's more of a running, passing threat, as I described before. Like, it's maybe if he plays wing, maybe, but if he plays center, probably just they'll probably just build on the same plays, add a few variations to it. Yeah, it's weird. It is weird, isn't it? Like it's always a higher percentage play to just do that because if you contest the ball, it's very easy for the other team to just spill it. It dribbles around, somebody comes through and scores. So like it's as far as like the percentages of achieving a good outcome, it's always a solid play if you can just literally drop it on the head of the winger and have your winger compete for it. It doesn't matter if it's Taruva or it doesn't matter who it is. So it's weird that we don't. It's a good question.
I think they will. He's an aerial target. That'll be something they bring into it. But yeah, I agree with you for the most part. It doesn't really seem like it's something we do. But hey, attacking evolution is never a bad thing. And if they can continue to evolve it, and that's the next stage of the evolution, then I won't be complaining as time goes on. Next question comes from Stephen Tudden again on X. In the 2026 depth chart with all the new second row recruits, where do you see Seafarth, Roberts, Murray, and Geyer all playing?
I think that the starting back row will be Sam Welafainu and Kai Pearce-Paul. I think that everybody sort of agrees with that. And after that, I actually kind of have a feeling that it's pretty open slather. So I wouldn't be surprised if Geyer starts on the bench in round 1. Me personally, I've looked at Geyer enough, both watched him play New South Wales Cup and also looked into the stats, the KPIs, and I'm not convinced that he's not a better player than Alex Seafarth, Tony Sukar. I think Charlie Murray may be higher on the depth chart now than Sukar, especially now that he'll be in the dev side, so we'll be able to pick him from round 1. Yeah, I think that from Seafarth to Sukar to Murray to even Roberts, because he'll be on dev, even Sakuru, because he'll be in the top 30, I think it'll be a pretty wide open competition in the off-season for whoever wants to make their case the strongest. And if I was the West Tigers, it'd be all based on tackling. Like that's because I mean, and if if Sakura can be as effective in defense as Alex Seafath and Sukar, the jersey's his because he's definitely far and away the best attacking threat of all of them in terms of his potential.
Yeah, I completely agree. For me myself, just looking at it, I think that Gaia is the best chance of taking CFAR 17 jersey, but I do agree with you. I'm not necessarily sold on him. Ethan Roberts is the great white hope, can play middle, can play edge, very good pedigree, but I don't think that he's a guy that will make a massive impression in preseason to really force his way into the 17. Towards the end of the year, quite possibly, or springboarding into 2027, fair chance, but I'm not too sure. Charlie Murray will be an interesting one. He'll get sort of pushed down the depth chart a little bit, similar to what happened with Fatape between last year and this year. But I don't think he's competing with those boys. I think that jersey 14 may well be Charlie's spot, feeling between 13 and 9. But where he ends up, I'm not too sure. He'll start at 13, obviously, in the New South Wales Cup side, but I'm hopeful that with some additional middle forward depth, that we definitely build up that part of the depth chart. So that's it.
Well, the other one is Sione. Obviously, he's been moved to the back row at the moment. What appears to be out of necessity, but he's playing good. But I tend to think we kind of need him in the middle. So it's like, yeah, there's a question about Sione. Maybe they just train Sione in two roles, and just like play him as like a bench sub that can kind of fit either option. Good. Yeah, in terms of Sukar, to me is somebody who I'd be surprised to see play much first grade next year, to be honest. It's Alex that's the question mark. I think that if you see Alex, and I think I might have even said this in the preseason this year, if you see Alex Seafath kind of like starting back row or even on the bench for the majority of the season, probably not a good sign about our prospects, in all honesty. And it's just because Alex Seafath's the sort of player that at a good club, you would only see him playing games if there was injuries, in my opinion. So if he's high enough on the depth chart that he's just a week in, week out proposition without injuries, it's a pretty bad sign for our competitiveness, I think. And I think that also applies to, players like maybe even like Skelton. So it definitely applies to guys like Sukar, Heath Mason, Murray. Like, they're players that you shouldn't be seeing playing week in, week out, I don't believe.
I'm with you there, mate. Well, I think we're pretty much done, pending your quote-unquote quantum take. Have you got one for us this week?
Yeah, I mean, I always have a bit of a quantum take. So my quantum take this week is probably, well, let me tell you a bit more of a quantum story. So for those who are wrestling fans, there was this is not footy related. So if you don't want to listen to me talk weird shit, just leave. Right. So, in the US, over the last couple of days, there was a really unfortunate situation that happened with a guy by the name of Raja Jackson and Psycho Stu. Did you hear about this story, Jared?
Sorry, it was all over X.
Yeah. So Raja Jackson is the son of Quinton Rampage Jackson. Quinton Rampage Jackson, former UFC light heavyweight champion. And he's obviously a troubled fella. And he spends a lot of time on social media on a platform called Kick, which is a very toxic platform where basically content creators just have toxic fans who like talk shit in the chat and they just roll around the streets just doing stupid shit. And generally most of the content creators on Kick are like some of those content creators that give the rest of us a bad name. So Raja Jackson was attending, probably, I think he must have been invited as like a special guest or something. Some friends there to this like pro wrestling event. And because he was recording, the wrestler Psycho Stu mistook him for a worker. He thought he was a wrestler, and Psycho Stu started like doing a little bit of like a promo cutting with him. And Raja got real upset about it and started like staunching him, and he thought he was playing into it. So he smashes him in the head with a can. a prop can that like exploded and like the beer came out of the top of it. And then Raja gets real pissed off, but shakes his hand, and I thought it was a workman. I'm so sorry. Shakes his hand, very apologetic, and Raja seems to accept his apology. Goes away for half an hour stewing over it, and then like the promoters of the show or the wrestlers backstage or whatever were all apologetic to him and like, hey, we'll do a little like segment later in the show where you can jump in and you can like get your receipt on him. You can like pick him up, drop him, and throw some punches at him, and it'll be fun. And you know, we'll make it a program. What do you think? And he's like, great. And he gets on Kick live, and he's telling people, he's like, they said I can hit him for real. I'm gonna smash him. I'm gonna hit him. I won't hurt him that bad. I'm gonna smash him though. I'm gonna hit him for real. When it comes down to it, yeah, he dives into the ring, picks up Stu, body slams him on the ground, knocks him unconscious on the ground, and then proceeds to jump on top of him. And you got to understand, the rest of the wrestlers thought it was all a work, right? So those wrestlers are standing there watching it sort of happen. He jumps on top of him and he hits him, it had to be 15 times, unprotected, unconscious, light heavyweight MMA fighter. Right, so he's this big dude and also a fighter. Crack, man. Like most people thought he'd killed him, and he even thought he killed him at one point. The reason I bring this up is because I was, how do I say this? I was like absorbing that information in real time on the bus on the way home from work yesterday, and I was really thinking about it, and I'm like, you know, how does somebody get to a point where they have lost their mind and they have lost their capacity to reason to a degree where they can do something like that? Like, there are people in society that are so dangerous, and like, not just everybody knows junkies and stuff, right? Like, there's dangerous people, but this dude is like a celebrity almost. Like, he's like it'd be like a normal person sitting next to you on the bus just suddenly just snapping and doing this to you. And I thought about it, I'm like, man, that just really highlights the danger of social media, doesn't it? It just like highlights how negative of an impact social media can have on society, and how, especially if you don't help people understand how to really understand what social media is as a platform. And like, what it is as a platform is an advertising revenue generating marketing platform for businesses to exploit human attention. Sorry, YouTube and X, but that's what it is, right? And I'm thinking to myself from the perspective of a father. I've got 2 daughters, and they both love social media. My daughters like use social media a lot. And as I was coming home, I saw my little one, like she was about to start playing on her mum's phone. She'd like snuck it. As I walked through the door, she snuck off with the phone, and she's like picked up mum's phone. I'm like, what are you doing? And she's like, oh, I'm just going to use Instagram. And I'm like, no, let's do something else. Let's do anything else. Let's, go play something else. And then she, let's play hide and seek. Like, yeah, we can play hide and seek, but let's have dinner first. Sat down, had dinner with her. And I started talking to her about social media. It's a heavy stuff to try to talk to an 8-year-old about like how the algorithm works and stuff like that. But she's real smart. Like, so she really did click about it. She really did seem to understand it. It was awesome to hear. And also, instead of like her spending the last half an hour of her night on Instagram, she spent half an hour having a conversation with her dad, which was great, and then went to sleep. But one of the questions that I posed to her, and this is me getting to the point, one of the questions that I posed to her was, I was talking to her about confirmation bias and how the algorithms are designed to make you think things and then continue to feed you that information, especially if it makes you angry, right? And that's how it works, right? They like if you hate Donald Trump, or if you hate the Greens, or if you hate, like in her case, Mr. Beast, then, you know, when you see content that's about how fucked up those people are, you spam that like button, you spam that comment button, and that's all you ever see. And this is not me talking about, you know, my politics. That's just the freaking reality, right? Whether the truth is that this side's bad or this side's bad. My perspective on it is that we're all just manipulated completely, and that's my opinion. And I think that they're, up that's at the end of the world. It's just all bad. But she told me she hates Mr. Beast because I asked her. I was like, what's something you hate? Let me use that as an example for you. And I was like, Mr. Beast, why do you hate Mr. Beast? And she's like, oh, well, because I heard you talking shit about him. Like, she didn't say shit. It's like, I heard you saying that he was bad. I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's fine. You can take your opinions from your dad. That's fine. All right, good night, love. So she goes to bed. Tegan sits down next to me, and I open Reddit. And the first article I see is Mr. Beast trying to ask for the contact details of somebody who knows Psycho Stu to help him. Like, the first thing I see, Mr. Beast reaches out to try to find Psycho Stu help, and then Mr. Beast ended up sharing his GoFundMe and stuff like that. And I was just like, Tegan, what the fuck? Like, Tegan, my partner, I was like, what is that? Like, what? Like, Julia just told me she hates Mr. Beast, and I was telling her a whole story based on the fact that this Psycho Stu thing happens, and then this is the article that I see.
It listens.
Like, the fact that even happened is weird. But yes, anyway, that's my quantum take, is that social media, I know I've been like amping up right on it, but like, as a content creator and as somebody who actually works in marketing, like, I've been doing social media marketing since social media marketing was a thing. I was there on day one when they opened the Facebook advertising marketplace. I know all about this stuff. We have obligations to really help people understand how this shit works, because, like, frankly, it's napalm for the masses. It's terrible, but it's not terrible if you know how it works. It's not terrible if you can see through it. It's not terrible if you actually think, why am I receiving this information? Who's to benefit from me receiving this information? I just don't believe anything that you see on social media at all, unless it comes from the West Tigers faithful. You can find us on TikTok, Instagram, X, Facebook, YouTube. And we'll tell you straight. What's going on with the West Tigers, because we know what we're talking about here at West Tigers Faithful family. We trust that you trust our judgment, and we appreciate your fandom and your faith. And you know what? Stay faithful, because I think good things are coming for the West Tigers.
Indeed, mate. Roll the credits.
Yeah, it takes a little while for me to find the button to click.